And me, I'm here. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You know what I'm saying? It's one of those days. One of those days get a chance to look outside, see me take some photos of turkeys. They didn't show up. Yeah, for some crazy reason. Crazy reason. We had these turkeys that showed up in the backyard months ago. And it was the mother turkey and three little baby turkeys. Well, there's three little baby turkeys and no longer little baby turkeys. They're much bigger turkeys at this, as it seems. Well, I won't say that. Come on, really, but they're cute. They're turkeys. It's kind of interesting. Kind of interesting to see those things. But anyhow, so I got there. See if I can snap a few more photos of those crazy things because I got a new lens. I'm excited. I'm excited. I keep adding to my lenses with the camera. Hello there, Doug. Good afternoon to you. With the camera, which kind of fits in with what we're going to talk about today. About staying excited, staying engaged, being engaged, reinventing yourself along the way too. Reinventing your business, your clientele, your target market, your advertising, your marketing, your everything. Where does it all end? Where does it all end? Where does it all begin? So maybe it begins with a turkey. Maybe it does. Maybe that, day that doesn't go well, you're like, "Oh, man, what am I doing? What am I doing? What are those challenges that come up?" Oh, and they always do, right? Well, sometimes those are the greatest wake-up calls of them all, you know? So I go out there and I'm taking pictures with the turkeys. Are they as good as they could be? No. Why? I don't know. Go watch videos, see if you can figure it out. And, like, have conversations with people, mentors. I say, "Oh, you gotta get this lens." So go out and get this lens. Well, I got the camera on the other side. I get this lens. It's a silly little lens, but all of a sudden it changes things up a little bit. Greater clarity. Hey, Chris, how are you, man, my friend? You betcha. Saturday it is. So I get so it uses less light, so I could shoot in the dark. Or I could shoot better in the dark, that kind of thing. Like, oh, that's cool. And I'm like, okay. But then start using it. It's like, oh, you know what? Well, no, now this, maybe that. Now this, maybe that. And you want to know something? Now this, maybe that. Maybe a better way of looking at things as we continue on our careers or continue into different stages of our careers, or different ways we look at hobbies, different ways that we spend our time as to what really keeps us engaged or gives us a new sense of excitement about something. You fall into a rut. Okay, sure we all do. Get that business that's going. It's like, a couple of, first beginning of the years, when you get started, you're like, whoa, it's great. This is fantastic. I'm going to conquer the world. Reality sets in after year one, two, three, maybe earlier. Hopefully not too much earlier. When reality sets in 3 months into it, you're like, wow, maybe this was a mistake. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. Maybe approaches, that kind of thing. But it's those things that really, it can be the catalyst for something. If I could do this, or if I did that and that didn't work out, but what I could change it this way. Now I'm looking at this camera lens, and Chris, we'll bring it back over here to the to the racetrack, of course. But like, wait a second. You said that lens works in low light? Well, if it works in low light, that means it needs less light. And if it needs less light, that means I can get that shutter speed to go quicker. This way I could capture things in motion a little bit better. Because I've been trying to do this panning thing, which I didn't know what the heck panning was until about 2 weeks ago, when all of a sudden I got a photo of Jason on top of he's one of the junior dragster drivers. He's on top of the car, and I'm taking a photo, and I got it lined up on him, and I click, and he's kind of clear, not great, kind of clear, and the rest of the audience is all blurry. I was like, man, that's what I was shooting for, right? Not in the background blur, but blurry. It shows a little bit of motion. It's like, how did I do that? So I was like, well, now that I did that, what does that really mean? That's a question. So you kind of learn from it. But in the business aspect, the same thing, right? If you're growing your business, especially if you're in sales, you're like, you look at different ways of promoting yourself, and it has to start from within. Has to start from within. You know, you first things first, flat out. First things first. What is it that brings you joy? For one, okay, because if you're doing something from a career standpoint you don't like doing, forget it. Just flat out forget it. And we're always told, well, you may not really enjoy what you're doing, but you find aspects of what you're doing in order to make it work. Okay. There's something to be said for that if you're a flat out employee. You're working at some place and you really don't like what you're doing, but you find a few bright spots in there that bring you joy. It's paying your bills. Maybe it's paying a little bit more than your bills. It's giving you the lifestyle you want. Man, there's a whole bunch of little positives that get tossed into that equation, which not just the job, that punch the time clock job as that goes. But if you're in sales, different story. If you're in sales, it is your business and you want to grow your business, and you're not really excited about showing up Monday morning or whatever time you show up nowadays, but whatever showing up Monday morning, for that 9 o'clock, I'm at work. That's dreadful. And not only that, and here's the worst part about that whole thing, or the most authentic part of the whole thing, is that your clients know it. They know it. Tie this in with the networking side of things, right? What's the first thing you do at a networking event? What are you really trying to accomplish at a networking event? You are trying to get to know people, and you want them to like and trust you. Well, if you get to know somebody and they get to know you and they see that you're not that excited about your business or your industry, whatever, and they may not know why you're not that excited about it, but it's not going to happen. If you're not engaged in what you're doing, then and you're growing that business, you got to figure out a way to do that, or just shift, go into a different aspect of it. Look, I've seen people that start businesses, right? And they love the product, they love the service that they're doing, but then they actually have to run a business. Maybe they don't want to run a business. They want to be in business, but not run a business. Different aspect of it. That's when you bring in a partner and do it. Now you get back to doing what it is that you really like to do. That's important. And your business will grow, and it'll grow exponentially because you are now excited. And then that excitement, that inner self, is going to continue to come through. And this goes into now that I did this, now what? All right. Now that I've taken on a partner that's doing all the back stuff, and I can really focus on the front facing side of it. Call it like a restaurant, right? Restaurant. Oversimplified. I get it. If anybody here owns a restaurant, deepest apologies. Hey, Kurt, good afternoon to you. Chris, good. Doug, my wife's Karen there. Yeah, all good too. And anyway, we'll get out today. We'll go down to the beach, get a little fresh air. I think we could both use a little air. We've taken some pictures of seagulls. But let's take a look at that restaurant. Again, I apologize for oversimplifying this, but there's the back end of a restaurant, the kitchen. Front end of a restaurant is going to be the people. You may hate the back end. You wanted to own a restaurant in the worst way, right? And you understand it's an 18-hour day. Let's make sure you get that fact in there. And if you didn't, that's why I think we should have vocational programs. But you might be great in the kitchen. Great in the kitchen. You like working with the chefs, the sous chefs. You like preparing the dishes, making sure the dishes are the proper look to the dishes. And I don't mean the food, I mean the dishes itself. Inventory control. Wow, that's a big thing. Safety, food handling, all the rest of that stuff. Man, there's a lot of detail in there. Lots. You might love that, but hate dealing with customers. Well, if you really hate dealing with the customers, we can talk about that. But still, Still, if that's the case, let's assume you hate dealing with customers and you don't want to hear from them at all. That means your food is going to be perfect because you are motivated to make perfect dishes each and every time, to make sure everybody's at the top of their game each and every time. So you are looking forward to coming in to help everybody. Maybe you become a great mentor because of that whole thing. Maybe you become a great leader on that. You might be tough, and that's fine. Reasonable? Yeah. Valuable? Yeah. Your value content better be really good if you're tough, as that goes. But if it is and you got that thing nailed down, bam. You've seen, some of these shows, Taffert, John Taffert, his thing. That guy. I wonder if he's as bunch of a bear as it come across it. I mean, come across this on the TV. And my buddy of mine, Tim Healy's interviewed him a couple of interviewed him, and I'd really wonder if he's as bear. But when it comes down to business, it comes down to business. He's tough, fair, realistic, and he's got the credibility. Maybe that's you. Maybe that's you. And if you had to run the whole thing, including the front, you're like, oh my God, it's dreadful. People want to explain what's on the menu. Really? It comes out and, it wasn't exactly what they thought it was going to be. Really? No, maybe you need to rewrite that menu a little bit and really be very, very specific as to what that dish is. But that person in the front, it may need someone in the front and somebody to run the front side of it. But that's true with everything. It really does. I'm sitting over here, make a reference back to that track and the rest of that stuff is like, trying to do, I think, too many things while it's happening. I want to learn. I want to learn about the cars, the drivers, how that whole thing works, track operation, the microphone time, of course, and then take photos. You want to know something? Crazy stuff. Crazy stuff. Am I enthusiastic? Yeah, okay. I definitely am. The rest of that kind of stuff, if people see it, yeah, they do. And you've all been terrific in the whole thing. But am I as effective as I can be? Am I really focusing on everything, or am I trying to be the front and the back office all in the same clip? Shouldn't. Shouldn't. I just have this bright, shiny object problem. I think, oh my God, it's great. Everything's great. Everything's great. But I'm not running a business. I'm not running a business when I go out there and do this stuff. It's a playground. It's different. It's totally different. So there's that aspect of it. But in business, and I spoke to in business, it matters, right? Definitely matters. And here's where this whole thing kind of came from, is that I spoke to somebody earlier today about their career. Not my career coach is just a friend, we just chatting along over there, about same job, same industry, same everything, pretty much the same people now for many, many years. Person's been working at that place for quite a while. But her needs have changed. Now the office has not changed needs, changed people every once in a while, things like that. Maybe some nuances or things along those lines. But everybody's desire to accomplish, to do different things kind of changes up a little bit. Yeah. You want to know her story? Doesn't really make a difference what her story is. Just that it does change. Money is a factor, but it's not everything. Respect is a factor, not necessarily everything. Recognition? I tend to think as we get more mature, that recognition factor kind of continues to move up the food chain there a little bit in different things. The money's not important. But money's always important. You gotta, fill everything else in there. But the recognition factor is there, and I don't mean a ribbon to hang on the wall or anything like that, but just something. How's it going? What's going on? Something, along those lines. Now, let's flip this around the other way. You work with different people doing different things. You work with people at your place. Maybe you're the owner, maybe you're a manager, maybe you're just that untitled leader as is out there. Read about that one a long time ago. It's like, oh boy, is that the truth, right? The untitled leaders, the ones that are actually leading the charge, but not, they don't have the title for it, but they're actually the motivational person within the group. Oh, and I've seen that time and time again at different places. One place, absolutely in particular, it's not always the manager, that's there. It's those people in your little grouping over there that you're working directly with. Somebody's taking charge. Somebody's keeping the whole thing moving along a little bit quicker, effective, and making that work. That could be you. But no matter where you fit into that, whether you're the owner, you're a titled leader, you're the untitled leader, recognizing your employees, understanding coworkers, understanding what's keeping them engaged in the whole process is actually the greatest thing that one can do. Greatest thing, because you're going to wind up building a different level of rapport with them. Maybe share a little bit more about what's going on in the business, how things are actually really truly going, what's been effective, what's not been effective. You know what happens? All of a sudden, everybody becomes part of that team. It becomes a team approach. Great example, and this one I could speak to firsthand, right? We're all volunteers. Toastmasters, the Toastmasters organization, specifically my club. I'm sorry, the club. I'm not an officer this year. First time, first time in it was 2004 in Georgia. First time in like 18 years. I haven't been an officer of that club. It's nice, but it's not so much as it's nice for me, it's nice for them. Not that I'm out of there. Take it easy, all right. It's not it's just like, oh yeah, we got rid of Brian, out of there. But it's depth of field, depth of field. Now, there's no paychecks to hang over anybody's head inside of Toastmasters, right? Toastmasters, the whole idea is becomes better leaders, stronger communicators. Basic tagline on the whole thing. Now, how does that happen? Well, you need to speak more. You need to lead more. You need to do things more. So, in the past, I've been president of the club. What is the greatest thing for me to do? Lead, lead everybody in everything we do everything for everybody, make sure that the club meeting is set, make sure the agenda is there, make sure the marketing takes place, make sure, we have guests coming in, and I make sure that all of this stuff happens? No. Well, yes and no. Let's be clear about that. For me to do all that stuff? No. First off, I'll burn out, and that's not good. And I don't want to do that. Volunteer, right? You got other conflicts. That look at that from that selfish standpoint, right? That wasn't it for me. That what's being taken out of me on that one. But how does that club grow? How do you get the most out of that scenario? It's by empowering other people, not just giving them a title, because titles, for the most part, titles are crap, right? Unless a paycheck comes along with it. But anyhow, but titles are crap. Just because somebody's got a title doesn't mean anything. It's who that person is. Now, if you can empower that other person, if you could make sure that that person understands that they're a key player in the team, that their leadership amongst their folks that they are working with is really important. Even again, if it's the non-titled person, when you do those employee reviews, or when we have the impromptu conversations inside of Toastmasters, there's no reviews that take place, but just a nice word every once in a while, in private, not in public, in private. Hey, really appreciate what you're doing over here. I saw that you were working with Bob. I saw that you were working with Mary, giving them some hints as to how to come up with speeches or how to structure the speech. Or when you gave an evaluation that other day, man, that was great. That was great. Those kinds of things. Now, not only will you become a better leader, stronger person, because you're interacting with somebody in a different way, and you might feel good, you should feel good about the fact that you're bringing out the best in somebody and you're putting a smile on their face. But that real leadership, the now what, has to do with them passing that along, them instilling that same feeling in somebody else and making it work that way. That becomes unbelievably. That makes for a really, really strong organization as that goes along. I don't know. I've seen that quite a few times over here with the crowd over here. but that really makes for a strong organization as it goes along. So I'm actually thrilled that I'm not president or vice president of of the different roles, marketing, whatever, and that kind of thing, and that other people have taken them on. It makes for a much stronger group. Absolutely. When you got more and more people leading it as a collective entity, not just one. And now that we've done that, the question is, what else can be done? Anything else? Anything else can be done. We can continue to grow and make things work that way. If it's in your business and it's your business environment, you continue to make it grow that way. And if it is at a point where it's some project that's being done and you're meeting the goals of that project, the more depth there is with everybody, also, now all of a sudden, the easier it is, the less time intensive it is for those that are really the true supporters, the as I call it, with all due respect, the raving lunatic fans. They're like, okay, we're going to move that tree from point A to point B. They're like, yeah, nobody's gonna. They don't even ask why. They're like, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Let's just do that. Let's just do that. Those people are unbelievable. Those are great people. We need to, maybe you get a group of people that are just like, yeah, let's just do it. Man, that is really super. You can do anything, absolutely anything. But that does not come from just telling them what to do. That comes from weeks, months, years, maybe, of really, truly showing them that you are sincere, authentic, and making that happen. So hear this, the now situation, now that you've done something, now that you started something, what can happen with the Toastmasters group? What could happen is we've always averaged somewhere between 15 and 25, and 25 is sometimes a big number for our club, but let's say 15 and 20 members. What could happen? Well, we now meet online. We're not meeting physically, and I don't know when we will go back to physical. That'll be decided again when the next officers come on board. But for now, we're meeting we're meeting digitally, not virtually. We're really meeting, but we're meeting digitally. So if our 5 raving lunatic supporters becomes 6, becomes 7, becomes 8, becomes 9, becomes 10 real true supporters, what can we accomplish? Quite a bit. Inside that Toastmaster world, what I would love to see happen there is for that club to grow, and to grow in a manner where we have more people, but more focused people. I mean, look, I it's a collective decision as that goes, but if that Toastmasters becomes a better speaker, effort has to do with becoming a better speaker online, in front of a camera, not in front of a live audience, but in front of a camera. Hey, that's perfect. I love that idea. I do that. And I'd like to continue to improve upon doing that. I'm looking to make strides forward wherever I possibly can. That becomes my playground for that. Announcing, doing stuff that's a little bit different. Well, this whole idea with with the announcing at the racetrack this weekend, and yeah, definitely going to be there Saturday, Sunday for the next 4 weeks, without a doubt. I did get that new lens. That's good, but I really want to focus on the thing that really makes a difference in my world, more so than taking a good photo. I'm up to taking a good photo. Not great, but good. I really want to focus on that microphone and make that aspect of it more a higher level of importance to me. Because now that I am doing that, the question is, what could I do? I could announce many, many things as that goes, and getting used to that whole thing and really just letting it flow. Because I know, and maybe some hear it, some don't hear it. I know I'm searching for words when I speak, always searching for words. It's like, oh, yeah, make sure I get the right terminology as that goes along. Now, I think this weekend, my expectations this weekend are really big, in that respect. And that's hobbies. What about the stuff that really truly makes a difference? When you're working with family and friends, doing something on a more personal note, when you're working in the business environment, when you've got a business and you really want to grow it. Is it all about you? No, no, you're the leader of the whole thing, but it is not about you. To make that thing work, it's all about the team. So maybe now, we talk about working on the business versus in the business. Well, maybe working on the business means you need to work in the business in the sense that it's with the fellow people that you are working with. And if you're a go-it-alone or that solopreneur, it's the same thing. Slightly different, but it's the same thing. The question is, can you build a team of, and I'll say it, yep, still got 4.5 minutes to say it, raving lunatics. Could you build a team of raving lunatics? Could you build a team of people that are just so enamored with you that they want to see you succeed, that they're always looking out for you, that you're always on the top of their mind? Pun intended. Those folks can become the greatest people in the world when it comes to growing your business, or they can become the greatest people in the world when it comes to promoting your cause. The networking events. What are you doing at a networking event? What you're really looking for at a networking event, and I'm talking to networking, not a sales event. You go to a trade show, something like that, where you're looking to sell your product, different story. I'm just talking a flat out networking event. You go to one of David Gustin's networking events or one of the other groups that are a little bit more formal in their approach where you're paying for membership. What are you looking for there? You're looking for people to buy your product, buy your service? No. You're looking for people that are going to be able to talk about you clearly, with confidence, talk about you to other people as it goes along. You need to make sure that they understand your story very succinctly. Very succinctly. The racetrack, right? Other thing I've been pushing out with that one is the fact that it's a great catalyst for the vocational school, for the vocational programs in high schools and colleges. That's it. That's the one message I'm really trying to get out there publicly, as that goes along. Everything else is important but secondary. I want them to think about that. Right? Many people have kids or in schools and so it kind of works. That's it. If that's it, if they think about me with vocational programs, that's great. It fits in with the ECNY, and I speak at high schools, and it's part of the story too, so they could visualize it. Because might ask me why. Do they ask me there? And I speak at high schools. And that was when they got a vision, an actual picture of what I'm doing. Might be wrong, but it's still their picture, and they're able to talk about it. And that stuff is great. Right. Yeah, when you're at these networking events, that's what you want. You want to give people that something that they can remember you by and clearly remember you by. Your employees, a little different. You want them to know that you are there for them. Real true team player. Everybody succeeds. That's great, right? We pull as a team, all on the same ship, rowing the same way. That kind of stuff. Nonprofits, same thing. Everything is the same thing. Question is, can you really build a team? That's the key to success. Hey, gosh, you go. So those with these race teams, those are on baseball teams. Those are doing things that one would think is totally alone. It's not. There's always a team that goes behind it. Might not be a big team, but there's always a team behind the whole thing. So that's it. So now that you've done something, think about where it could go. And understand it's not just you. It is that team of people you have surrounded me, paid or not paid, titled or untitled. That's the key. Build your team of raving lunatics. There's a raving lunatic talk today. All right, we were just about done over here, and let me say, we'll say thank you on that note to so many people that have helped me along the way with doing different things, and there's so many things to accomplish. Definitely have the racing coming up, throughout the rest of or through a good portion this weekend into October. That's good. Bunch of radio interviews have been being done too. So that's kind of cool. Got a good, exciting one coming up. I'll tell you about when that happens, because I don't want to say it's going to happen and it doesn't happen. But that was it. And who knew it would be a wedding out there? The Toastmaster thing, it's great. Become a better speaker. Let it go. Watch. You'll see the common thread on this whole thing. Obviously, with the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation, a little bit more of a personal note as to why actually much more of a personal why involved. But even that, I'm going into that and I'm doing something there that I know I could add some value to with the walks. I'm emceeing the walk in October with a script with a script, and my palms just started sweating on that with a script. I don't necessarily do scripts altogether too well. I get excited, just want to share things. So I have a script on that one, and it's gonna be videotaped and the whole deal, whatever, analyzed. So really excited about that effort over there to make that one work, and that'll be great. It'll all be good. And I'm also doing I'm going to do a radio show too in October with Nashville Community College. So very excited about that. Ray and Denisha invited me on there to talk about different things. Is there a common thread on everything? Yeah, for me personally, yeah, there absolutely is. There absolutely is. It's all about communication skills. If you could really communicate your message, communicate your authenticity, your sincerity, communicate your desire to help other people grow, you win. And they win. And then we all win. That's why you need to speak well, speak often, and live inspired. You will, emphatically, you will inspire others to do exactly the same thing. I'll see you Saturday.